Hello, everyone, and welcome to the V2V Global Partnership World Fisheries Day celebration. We have kept this as an internal event, so people from the V2V Global Partnership have only joined this one, so there is no live streaming or anything happening. As you all know, World Fisheries Day is celebrated to reflect on the many achievements and the needs within the fisheries and the ocean and the coastal and the wetlands systems. People often take the time on this day to reflect what they have been able to do with regard to these fisheries and what contributions they make, and to celebrate the fisheries around the globe. And of course, depending on who the groups are, they celebrate it in their different ways. So communities might be doing it in different ways, and then social groups and other organizations might be doing. So at V2B, because fisheries is so important, of course, fisheries and people that are engaged in fisheries are so important. We thought we would repeat this celebration this year, because last year we had a series of events that we did. So this year we thought we would celebrate what we have been doing in the past year and a half with regard to the B2B research and other kinds of activities. And of course, it will be an occasion to reflect together and collaboratively what we have been able to achieve, and speak to some of those activities in more specific terms. So please join me in really celebrating this together today. Of course, virtually. I don't know what we would have done if we are together in person, but we have an opportunity to meet virtually at least. So the other aspect that I want to emphasize before we get into the program is that vulnerability to viability is an important approach in terms of fisheries, and therefore it links to the day today. So why fisheries are so important? Not only because what has been achieved in those sectors positively, but also to reflect on what has not been achieved. So this day is also an opportunity to look at what has not been done, what needs to be done, what remains unfulfilled, therefore what we can do in the future to help respond to those needs and help achieve some of those unfulfilled dreams and targets in that particular sector. And we as a group have been very, very intensely starting to work with small-scale fisheries communities around the world to help those dreams come true. And that is how can small-scale fisheries move from being in a vulnerable situation to more viable, not only in the economic and livelihoods and all material aspects, but also in other aspects of their life, which includes, of course, the political and the cultural, the ecological and other aspects of their life. So, having said that, we have two different things that we have decided to bring forward in celebrating the World Fisheries Day. And I would invite my colleagues to speak to those specific items in a moment. And those two would be our two major new initiatives that we are just going to launch as part of this day. And we'll continue that tradition as we go forward. So without further ado, I would like to invite my colleague, Derek Armitage, to introduce the first initiative, and then we'll hear from a number of our colleagues who have been contributing or have contributed to those initiatives and learn more about those and celebrate those new initiatives. Over to you, Derek, please.
Great. Thanks very much, Prateep. And it's nice to see everybody, even if it's just virtual. Really appreciate the time everyone's taking to come out to this. So one of the key initiatives we've been working on over the past year or so has been the Working Paper Series. And so if we just reflect back on our project, on our collaboration, there's so much collective wisdom, so much collective experience and knowledge within our own group. And so a major goal of the V2V partnership, of course, is to help mobilize that knowledge and that wisdom and that experience in support of small-scale fishers in the places where we're working. And so we even have a knowledge mobilization working group within the V2V, and I would encourage everyone to be open to potential opportunities in the future as we start to think more and more about how we're going to mobilize knowledge. And so one of the ways we've been doing this, of course, is through multiple different formats and media platforms. So as we're thinking about how we can mobilize our knowledge, we've had these monthly seminar series, which have been really informative and very well attended. We have a really amazing newsletter that comes out with lots of information in it about the various activities of all our researchers and partners in the V2V. We've had training and capacity building workshops, which are another way to mobilize knowledge. And a real crucial commitment we feel for translating our research and our experience and our wisdom into some action as well, and to greater awareness, is the V2V Working Paper Series. And so that's a significant initiative that we've launched with the help of many, many people. And the aim of the Working Paper Series really is to facilitate the exchange of ideas, to mobilize that knowledge, and to also generate discussion about vulnerability and viability, what these ideas mean, how we can use them to better outcomes for small-scale fisheries, and doing so in a collaborative and interactive platform for V2V researchers, for our partners, as well as a range of other practitioners and civil society organizations and representatives as well. And so, given the various groups that can and are being involved in the Working Paper Series, they are going to provide both theoretical and methodological, but also some very practical and policy-oriented contributions that may be very focused locally within countries, but also have even a global impact and a global dimension to them as well. So the intention is to offer different series or types of working papers, one of which is many of you, of course, are aware that we've been doing these situational analyses of small-scale fisheries in all the different countries contexts. So we've developed working paper series based on these situational analyses, and Anna Carolina is going to speak to that. But we also have more issue-specific or individual researchers that are contributing novel insights, as well as partner organizations seeking to share some of their cutting-edge work. And so finally, we're also envisioning translating some student theses into working papers as well to increase their accessibility and reach and impact. And so that is the aim of our working paper series. Really, again, it's to mobilize all that collective knowledge and wisdom and experience that we have. And we're very fortunate that we have a few individuals that have been actively involved in these working papers activities that are going to share some of their examples. So thanks very much. I'll turn it over now to Anna Carolina.
Thank you, Derek. So yes, as Derek was saying, the situational analysis is one of the series of one of the working paper series. We started with that. And the idea was to understand the context of small-scale fisheries in the different contexts. And once we receive all the reports, we think, why not make that available? Because you have very nice and good information on fisheries, what are the main vulnerabilities, some of ideas of the transition to viabilities that some countries pointed out in the report as well. So we are putting all the the situational analysis reports from the countries will be published on our website as a working paper. And we have the first one ready, and we will have the other ones moving forward. And we would like to invite Inji from Japan to speak about her paper. Over to you, Inji.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Yeah, it's about 2 minutes, right? Can I share my screen? No screen?
You can share actually, Inji. Let me just stop if you would like to share. Yeah, please go on.
Okay. Okay, can you guys see the screen now?
Yes, if you make it full screen, it would be.
So yes, thank you very much, and a huge congratulations to to whole V2V family for this great work. Okay, let me have a quick presentation about V2V Japan work, situational analysis about Japanese small-scale fisheries. So Japanese small-scale fisheries are based on the family-run the vessels of less than 10 tons, mostly daytime operations. Many species of fish are caught with a variety of fishing methods. So these are the features of the Japanese SSF, and the communities are scattered throughout Japan, and the fishing is their livelihood and the big bones of their economy. So SSF is very important to the fishery. However, they face challenges today, various challenges, including the unstable fishery household income, lack of successors, aging populations, decreasing resources, etc. And in addition, the sustainability is called into question under this new Fisheries Act, which advocates this turning fisheries into a growth sector that calls for economy efficiency. So in an era of big change, they now face multiple challenges. So it remains to be seen how Japan will secure this small-scale fisheries sustainability. Fortunately, a series of this new initiatives and opportunities can be seen these days. It includes the Nagisa Haku Umigyo kind of community tourism and gender-related activities and collaborations among various different sectors. So the vital thing is from now on is to move forward with these opportunities and initiatives to enhance economic viabilities of the small-scale fisheries and community vitalities. Okay, thank you. So I need to stop share. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angie. Pratik, over to you to give an overview of the student working papers.
Oh, thank you. So the next in the first set of working papers that we are planning to bring out is by Navya Nair, who just finished her master's thesis focusing on water quality and how water quality is a key parameter of vulnerability to viability understandings. And I would like to invite Navya to talk briefly about her working paper that is coming out in a few days.
Thank you, Professor Pradeep. Hello, everyone. I'm Navya. I'm currently doing my PhD in Sustainability Management at University of Waterloo. So my working paper is on water quality and small-scale fisheries. The content is based on the research that I undertook as a part of my master thesis, considering Chilika as a case study. So as we know, like Chilika was traditionally recognized for its abundant fishery resources and productive ecological system with a combination of estuarine, marine, and freshwater ecosystems. So there were several hydrological effects, including freshwater discharges, lagoon water exchange, that have caused like many consequences, disrupting the social ecological changes, leading to social ecological changes. And government undertook to dredge a new seamouth in 2001, and then the rising market for shrimp aquaculture, which caused as a rapid social ecological change. So the main content of my working paper is water, how it is being affected is a part of vulnerability to viability, because water is a physical environment where fish develops, like fish grow and reproduce. So poor water quality affect fish and shellfish health through the impairment of the development and the growth, which declines the fish catch. So low fish stocks leads to less income and poverty in small-scale fishing communities. So the main aim of this paper is about examining the vulnerability in small-scale fishing communities of Chilika Lagoon due to water quality degradation, and assess how to achieve like an adaptation strategy to make these communities less vulnerable and more viable. So it considers like water quality as a vital facet to understand vulnerability and promote the transition to viability. And also, I would like to take this opportunity to thank my supervisor, Pradeep Nayak, for his continuous encouragement and the support throughout this work, and all V2V members who are working behind this to make it a success. Thank you.
Thank you, Navya. Who is going to speak next? Anna?
We go over the conference papers with Gaji.
Okay, so what we saw until now is two examples of what could be possible working papers. So one is, of course, the situational analysis outcomes captured within the frame of a working paper. And over the next weeks and months, you would see each of our situational analysis from each of the countries would be a working paper. And there, we are all working on those drafts, and they should be out within a few weeks to a month or two. So that becomes one part. The other part you saw is how can students, turn their thesis work, their research work into a working paper, and we have provided a good example of how she did it. And then the third type of working paper that is possible, and we have done it already, is our members and partners turning their other research work, significant research work that is going on, including conference presentations, into working papers. So the third example is from Malaysia. Gaji Nurul Islam is the lead author here, and I invite Gaji to talk about the working paper, which is titled, as you can see on the screen, Can Marine Protected Areas Contribute to Reduce Vulnerability? Perspectives from Small-Scale Coastal Fishers Communities in Malaysia. Gaji, over to you, please.
Thank you, Pradeep. Can I present this, share these slides, or Anna is...
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah, please. Sure.
Yes, Evil had created a slide for each of the presentations, but it's fine if you have your one.
Can you see the slide? Is it visible?
Not yet. Yes, we can.
Yeah. So this is the project we have done, the research before the COVID. So we have several co-authors for the research, and we must acknowledge our partners for the B2B project. So you can see we can see the academics and NGOs and other local practitioners. They are involved in the B2B project. We have done the work together. So okay, so it is okay. So the background of the research is the MPA. MP in Malaysia Marine Protected Areas is a no-take zone marine protected area, which established in 25 years ago in 1990s. And after the implementation of the MPA no-take zone, fishers are not able to fish because of the restriction of fishing and the fishing ban in the marine protected area. So it was a huge effect on the livelihood of the small scale fishers in the marine protected areas. And second important, the threat and vulnerability due to the development activities of tourism related development. And tourism development has created opportunities for employment for the local people, but at the same time they created the conflicts, social conflicts, and also the economic conflicts and competition for the economic activities. So these social conflicts and due to the inequitable access to the resources, fishery resources, has a great concern for the local livelihood of the small scale fishers. And the objective of the marine protected area from the agencies are to protect and conserve the coral reef resources in the MPA area. And then with the study looked at what are the factors that affecting the livelihood due to the MPA. So this is the study area. We have chosen two area for the study, two islands. One island is about 3,000 hectare. Another island is about 1,500. So it is both island is situated in the eastern part of peninsular Malaysia in the South China Sea. And these both islands are very resourceful and very important ecosystem for coral reef resources. And the outcome and the research contributions we got that MPA management is not effective for the resource enhancement and also poverty reduction strategy for the agency, because the local communities are not able to secure the access rights to the resources. So they are losing their access rights from the fisheries after the MPA has been implemented. And it increased the risk and uncertainty in the vulnerability for the future generation for income as well as for the consumption of the people residents of the islands. Another issue is that we got from the study that maximum benefits goes to the outsiders, meaning that the fisheries resources going to outsiders who are commercial fishers who are fishing offshore fisheries, and also the tourism benefits, because the tourism business people, they come from other areas and they establish the business. So the income and the benefits goes to the outsiders. So this is a huge issue about the equitable distribution of the benefits from the MPA. And we have comparison between these two islands, and because of the social status, and we found that social factors are very important in the small scale fisheries. Even they do not have a strong voice in the locality, but even they have a very strong social relationship in some community. So in the way they are able to own the resources, but in the other island, the fishers are not very powerful, and social power is not very high in the other community. So it is important factor about the power relationship at the community. So who has linked with the powers, they are getting the access to the fish. Even they are not supposed to fish, but they still can fish in the community. So this is the way they are dealing in the society. So the implication of the socio-economic environmental aspect and the factors is not implicated in the implication of this. The effect to the vulnerability is not understood well for the stakeholders, like for the fishers and also for the agency, because agency like to conserve the fisheries, do not care about the people's benefit, and the peoples are not very actively participating in the resources. So they are not they are not very understandable the implications on the livelihood in the future. So this is the study, the results we got. Is it possible to show another presentation, Pradeep?
Is not here? I mean, if you can take a minute or two just to introduce
just
that,
to give a maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes, because the another study we have conducted in the East Malaysia. So East Malaysia is very popular in terms of the fishery resources and coral reef resources in Sabah, and this study has conducted to understand about the vulnerability during the COVID. So we have conducted the study during the COVID time, and the background information of this community is that these people are the poorest of the poor in Malaysia, and in terms of the fishermen. So the poorest and poor community, how they cope their crisis during the COVID. This is the study is about. And we saw that the people are vulnerable, mostly vulnerable who are really the assetless or the chronic poor. Chronic poor among the fishers are mostly vulnerable during the COVID time. And this is the area, this huge area. So we have chosen two community to compare about the vulnerability, and we have got the results from the study that fishers' income dropped significantly during this time, and the people did not meet their basic need like food and other basic necessities because of the all activities in the different sectors, tourism sectors are collapsed. So there are no demand for fish for supply from the fishermen. So the effective policy is not there to support during the COVID time, because the agency support their food and other items was not adequate to meet their need. And this is very huge implications for the fisheries conflicts, because the people there are a lot of migrants coming from different neighboring countries and settle in the Sabah, and they are engaged in fishing activities, and they do fishing activities illegally and using the illegal gears. So during the COVID time, the social conflicts are more compared to the normal time because of their because of the need. So then we see that this is a huge implication for the policy if we cannot do the design the policy to reduce the vulnerability for the poorest of the poor community. So we cannot make a good vulnerable community policy in the future. Okay, this is. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ghazi. So the second working paper, which is already about to be published, is by the lead author Asmat, Mohammed Asmat, and Asmat unfortunately was not able to be here, so Ghazi just presented as a co-author. It's shows yet another example of how can our partners bring in their ongoing research and results from different studies to bring their findings to the world. So this was a fourth example of that. Over to you, Anna. So I think we should open it up for a few minutes to see what reflections our friends can make. It would be really good to hear, of course, what is significant going on in terms of V2V work, but also kind of reflecting on how a platform like the Working Paper Series might be useful to a group like V2V, and what are the potentials of we all contributing in the future. So we'll open it up for a few 10 minutes or so before we go to the launching of the toolkit. Anyone who wants to come in and make some reflections?
You can just open your microphone or write in the chat.
Yeah. Adida wrote a question. The report looks excellent. Questions for Ghazi about the COVID study. What would effective policy look like? It's in the chat section.
I think the effective policy is very difficult to design at this moment, because government has been trying to reduce the poverty for the last few decades, and it is very hard to design the good policy, effective policy. So because the stressors from the different angle, social angle, and also the ecological and environmental angle. So and both directions are going parallelly. So it is very difficult to design the effective policy to, for example, the conservation of fisheries in Malaysia is very concerned for the last 40 to 50 years, but still today the effective management cannot be implemented due to different social and governance factors to protect the resources from the overfishing, from the excess capacity of the fisheries. There's a lot of issues for the enforcement of the rules in the Malaysian waters. is the answer is okay or?
Already is saying thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. If we can hear from others, that would be really great. Feel free to open your cameras, if you want.
Hi, I also have a question for Ghazi about the COVID-19 study. So first of all, this is really a nice platform to share our works, and then I have feedback from people. And yeah, so thank you for organizing this. So I'm going to ask as Ghazi that was there any positive feedback or positive opportunities from the COVID-19 pandemic in terms of responses, like any novelty that people brought?
I think this is one of the good lessons we learned from the COVID time, that we poor fishers should have a backup or some the strategy to have buffer stuff so that they can cope the situation, because it is all on a sudden they have faced this problem, so they are not ready to face it. So this is the vulnerability for the poorest of the poor community, and they do not have any buffer or any quick solution to the problem.
Got it. Thank you.
Are there other contributions? Anyone wants to speak? Okay. Anna, would you like to move to the next segment then?
Yes, so moving forward, we are also launching the Rethinking Toolkit. The Rethinking Toolkit was prepared based on the Chilica Field School. And I would like to pass over to Pradeep and Seville to talk about it.
Okay. And before we do that, we have a question from Alida, and Alida is asking, what are the plans to make the reports broadly available? So these are all open access. So they would be freely available on the website. The Japan one is already posted on our website. So if you go to www.v2vglobalpartnership.com and go to the Working Paper Series section, you will find all of these reports freely available, and the way they have been made, it is citable, so you can cite them. There is a citation, suggested citation that we have included in the working papers, so they can be used. So yeah, open access, and that matches with the intention here, because we want these working papers to work as a kind of an open platform to exchange ideas. Many authors have indicated that their plan is to take this into a full journal publication. So this is a nice initial platform to bring in those ideas, get some feedback, and see how it makes sense or not, and then revise and submit to a full journal paper. So yeah, the answer is yes, it is freely available.
Yeah. Just to follow up, Pratik, I just wondered whether you might be planning some sort of advertisements, letting the wider community know, not just the V2V community, whether that be through social media or just asking everyone to post it through their networks, to make it broadly useful outside the project.
Exactly. And yeah, I can say a few things about that, as we have discussed, and then I'll let my Waterloo colleagues speak more. So the way we have done it, it is not internal only. So it will receive contributions from outside, contributions outside the B2B as well. And the plan is, as we publish one, it would be tweeted, and it would go to all other partner organizations, major platforms like FAO, World Fish, and other projects like OCP, TBTI, and all. So it would be broadly advertised. But yes, yeah. So following this event, you will see a tweet and an email going out from Seville, circulating the Japan one, which is fully ready and available on the website. And then you will keep seeing, over the next days, all other working papers coming out. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So moving on to the toolkit, which is the next initiative that we wanted to present to you in celebration of the World Fisheries Day, is related to the field school, virtual field school that we did. So the field school, because we're all caught up in a situation of pandemic and not being able to really do things in a more human way, getting to the context and all of those things. So we thought maybe it is a good time to kind of sit down and engage in rethinking some of the aspects of coastal and fisheries development and sustainability. And so that was the topic of the field school itself. So it was titled as Rethinking Coastal Sustainability and Development. And this is nothing new because participants came from all of our partner institutions and countries. So following the field school, then we thought, what are we going to do with the immense knowledge and the information that has been generated through the field school itself? And which came not only in terms of written material, but also in terms of more digital and kind of recorded, both verbal and video recorded kind of material. So we thought maybe we'll take this forward and then capture all of that in a sort of a toolkit, which would speak to the need and the necessity for rethinking on critical matters, critical aspects of vulnerability and viability, vulnerability to viability, my apologies. But at the same time, provide a kind of a condensed kind of, booklet where you can see what are those things or steps or, ingredients that are required if we ever want to engage in rethinking on certain aspects of small-scale fisheries. So this would be coming out in the next couple of days. We are almost, at the final stage of, finishing it. But apologies again that we could not finish it on time to present to you a full version of it today. But what you see there is, a draft, cover page of itself. I will take 2 or 3 minutes to kind of, say what's in there. So it is probably, of course, there would be introductions and all of that and, emphasizing why we need to engage in rethinking processes. But we would start with a initial section that would speak to rethinking in a complex world, recognizing that there are many challenges, recognizing that there are many, uncertainties in the small-scale fisheries world, and therefore, how do we rethink in a complex world? And the complex world would be the small-scale fisheries context in this particular, toolkit. Then we'll move on to a second section, which is about how do we rethinking the concepts, theories, and knowledge. And that would focus on, really rethinking on the knowledge base that has already been created and exist, and how do you creatively engage in rethinking those. And then the following section will be rethinking action and advocacy. Of course, we are not only a network of people that engage in academic work or research, but we have a number of partners and organizations that engage in action and advocacy kind of work. So that section will provide some hints and tools for rethinking on action and advocacy. And following that, again, there will be a section on rethinking policy. Again, we have a lot of policy partners, and we as also researchers engage in making our work policy relevant. So rethinking policy would be a key section in there, following which, again, we have another section which is rethinking practice. How do we engage in small-scale fisheries vulnerability to viability through this creative process of rethinking on all of its aspects, and therefore make the practice robust, make the practice more result oriented, and practice can then be an effective tool to not only respond and address the adversities within small scale fisheries, but also kind of help transition small scale fisheries from vulnerability to viability. So practice. And then, of course, because it is a toolkit, it will provide a selected list of readings and materials that can be effectively used by someone who wants to engage in rethinking process. And all the readings and the materials have been suggested by participants and resource persons that were part of the field school itself. And then we have a few sections to conclude the toolkit, which provides all the videos, recordings of the sessions from the field school, but also other video materials such as our thematic webinar series, where eminent people and really experts and interested people have come and spoken about different aspects of V2V. So we'll make those available in an edited format as material in the toolkit itself. So that's the layout of the toolkit, and the hope and the aspiration here is that the toolkit is a evolving document. So we are able to create a toolkit for rethinking about vulnerability to viability in the context of small scale fisheries, given our experience of the field school this year. But we might like to come up with a new edition or revisions to this one when we do our field school next year. But the idea is again to create another platform and create a resource that could come really handy in terms of engaging in this discursive and action and advocacy and practice and knowledge-oriented processes of how we move from V to V, how we move from vulnerability to viability. So join me in really launching this in a virtual way, and you will see a copy on your computers very soon, within a week or so. So any reflections, anybody wants to say anything to both the working paper as a platform and the rethinking toolkit as another initiative that that we have just presented? The floor is open. Anybody can say anything pertaining to those two initiatives. Maybe people who are part of the field school and know a little bit about the toolkit coming out, both resource persons and participants at the field school. If you want to reflect or say anything, please go ahead. Yeah, sometimes silence is also a way of rethinking. So I think we kind of reflected on that approach in the field school itself.
Can I say something, Pradeep?
Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much for all the participants or researchers who have shared the working papers, as well as thanks, Pradeep. I'm Hasibir Farullah. I'm based in Dhaka, Bangladesh. I find all the working paper, of course, I haven't gone through them, but the summary is quite exciting, no doubt about it. I was just wondering if anyone can share with us if those working paper have been, might be I have missed it, have been shared with the target audience like policymaker, and what was their reflection, or do we have any plan to share them so that our analysis, our suggestion, our recommendation can be used, as a tool to influence the policy, maybe not influence the policy, but as a starting point to start the conversation. I am very much eager to learn from others if we have tried it anywhere in the world. Thank you.
Maybe I'll just
yeah.
jump in that. And so yeah, it's a great comment, and certainly the hope is that this will be the way that we can start to make those connections and share some of the insights from the research being done. So the working paper becomes a more formalized document, publicly available, accessible on the web, open access. And so that's one way. And as Prateep mentioned before, the idea is to make sure that this gets to a much wider range of audiences just beyond the V2V. But I think also our hope in having conversations with different people in the partnership and different members and leaders of the country teams is that these documents can then be used by them in ways that they feel most suitable as a basis for communicating specific insights or taking the working paper and maybe even creating a very short policy brief of 1 or 2 pages that could be shared as well. So I think we have lots of opportunity here. It's just a matter of exploring what those are, which ones are best in different contexts. And I certainly don't want to put Inji on the spot, but I mean, in some ways she's and her team have evolved their working paper at this stage, and it may be that they're already having some of those conversations. So, but that's a great comment.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there are multiple possibilities. This is just one layer of the whole piece. So there could be regional synthesis of the working papers. Especially the situational analysis. There could be policy white papers. It really depends on people on the ground. The country-specific teams. How they would like to take it into different domains. So policy being one of the key domains itself. Some of our partners, from India, they were reflecting in another session that can some of this be translated in the local language and taken to the community members itself, the Federation of Fishers that we work with, in the Bay of Bengal region. So there are multiple avenues, and it really depends on the initiatives that can be started at the country level. So this is a global initiative that we started, and then we would be really keen to see how it is taken forward at the specific context level itself. So there are, I would say, unlimited opportunities and possibilities there.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Prateep.
Ali, please. Can you unmute, please?
Okay, thank you very much. I have 2 points very briefly. The first point is about the submission of our case studies. I have just sent an email this morning to Prateep and Seville. I apologize for Anna Carolina because I've got confused, So now I realize that you are still, handling these, case studies. So I take the commitment to send ours in about, 6. But I realize that there is no stress. So by this night, it will finish and be sent to you so that you can have it this weekend for, reviewing and all. The other point is referring to our expectation far beyond the academic interest. Of course, all this material, including, case studies, situational analysis as working papers, are of big academic interest for us. But again, I would like to remind one of my concerns, because if we are providing all this effort, is because we're expecting, some transition from vulnerability to viability. And this requires the involvement of many, various actors. In Senegal, for example, beyond, the fact of publishing, some case studies or this situational analysis, we are expecting, but because we have talked, with some fish workers, organization, locally speaking, and even at national level, we're planning to make a restitution, to all these, document, these issues, because fishermen, of course, are their knowledge, because there are many things, they don't understand. Involvement, for example, commitment, from our government to many, how we say, regional and international policies. They ignore all this. They don't know about. And throughout, the exercise we are doing now in order to elaborate, situation analysis, we realize that if the government, really, respect, some commitment he take at regional, international level, this kind of thing, for example, must be known by fishing communities. So we plan to have some, to make kind of restriction all this, how you say, highlights, deriving from a couple of months, research, so that, this social mobilization, to which I attach many importance, because as scientists, we have a specific role, but we must work, with other actors, that have to play their own partition. So this kind of things, we expect, V2V to see how, beside, the beyond, the support we got for research on the field, how to support this kind of, national and decentralized meeting, because it's very important.
Yeah. And of course, so, and that really depends on, what country teams can do. I mean, it might be bringing out a series like this at the secretariat level was, I would say, much more easier because of the level of work itself. But we would be very restricted and hesitant to really go and do it in the country context, because we know that we have strong partners who can do that part of the work. So your suggestion that how can this be further mobilized and used in the different kinds of work on small scale fisheries is something that is expected to emerge in the context itself. So we will look at, we're looking at leadership from our teams in the country to get into action on some of these aspects. But also the way this working paper series is laid out, it's not only openly accessible or available to everyone, but everybody is also able to contribute if they have something to say and use this platform. So it is not restricted to, so you can invite your secretary or your government friend or policymakers to use this as a platform to say something, if that is a possibility. I'm not saying that has to happen, but so it's a platform available to everybody. So at a country level, you can also present this as a platform to your collaborators that are not directly part of V2V to contribute. So that's the kind of layout of the working paper series itself. I know we're getting to time. Any other reflections, or anybody who wants to say anything? Okay. So I think we are almost at time, but you will be hearing more on these initiatives again, and you will see all the situational analysis coming out slowly. So we will have more than 12 situational analysis coming out, but along with that, also, as you saw examples of other research studies in the form of working paper that are also going to come out, more student thesis. So encourage your students and members in the country, if they want to use this as a platform to publish, that would be really great. Okay, back to Anna.
Thank you, Pradeep. Thank you all very much for the conversation, for the presentations, and let's celebrate. And yes, thanks for coming. And we'll publish the working papers in the website, and they will come along in the next few months.
Yeah. And if you have a suggestion in terms of how this can be, like Alida made some really nice suggestions, Hasib, your suggestion, and Aliu. So if you have any suggestion how we can take this forward and what should we be doing with this working paper series, please write to us, let us know, and just do it. So you can do it on behalf. We are all part of B2B, and if you think there's something that needs to be done, please do it at your level. That's great. Okay.
Yeah, this is a nice format to maybe have a policy document or things like that that can also come out from the working papers. So thank you very much. And
Okay, happy World Fisheries Day.
Happy
Yeah,
World
happy
Fisheries Day.
Day. Thanks, everybody.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye
Take care.
bye. Bye bye.